Hi, it's Jen and Tammy back with a woolly mug rug for August. I love my sunflowers.
I do too.
There's just something happy about sunflowers.
I love them. My favorite flower.
We chose it for the August, both for the woolly mug rug and the table glitz, which is behind a separate video, separate program.
Yep.
But both are a lot of fun. And if you've been following along with the woolly mug rug, you already know, be sure to go to the Shabby Fabrics homepage, click on the link to download the diagram, and you're looking for the woolly mug rug for August. It's the sunflower, and you'll be needing your black fabric. Of course, we have kits, as usual, thread sets that Tammy very carefully puts together. She's got some exciting stitches, and I have not actually seen her do this.
That's true.
I have purposely stayed out of the sewing room, so I would be surprised.
You have.
I know Casey helped you pick the stitch, and I was like, don't show it to me.
I don't want to know.
I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it too.
Okay.
But just like before, when you download your 2 pages of your diagrams, for your black, you'll be cutting one of the circles using the fusible webbing, and you'll also cut one with the freezer paper.
That's right.
The one we'll be stitching on will be the freezer paper.
That's this
one. So
one.
put the one with the fusible webbing off to the side like we've done before.
Right here. Yep.
If you will be using the, well, whether you're using freezer paper or you're going to be using the, lost my wording here, freezer paper, it's just so nice to have a light box.
It is.
So that when you put your diagram onto your light box, whether you're using fusible webbing, which is what I have here, or if you don't like fusible webbing and you want to use your freezer paper, either way, it's just so nice to have that illuminated. You've seen us use this in so many of our videos. It is an investment, but you're going to use it over and over again.
Over and over.
And it
I love
saves
it.
you from squinting.
It does.
You know?
It does. And you can work at night.
Yes, I remember
Much
when I
better
was
to work at
younger,
night.
I used to tape it up to the patio.
Window.
And then when the sun went down, I was
You
done.
were done.
Yep.
That's right.
So just like before, we're going to trace out your sunflower, and we did two layers. We did a really pretty, it's
a houndstooth.
A houndstooth in the back, and I think this was a nice hand dye. They're both hand dyed. They're beautiful. So you've got 2 layers of that. So you'll trace that 2 times. Get that cut out of whether you're using our kit fabrics or maybe your own wool. Get those taken care of, as well as your center and your ladybug and her head. And you're going to put those down to the background as you normally would. And that's when Tammy takes over with all her amazing stitches. So you're up, Miss Tammy.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go.
They know how to get this down to the background. We just want to know all your super cool stitches.
This is fun. All right, so for the petals, we wanted a stitch that just kind of rounded slightly to the petals. So Casey and I chose a stem stitch, and I'm going to show you an easy way to do the stem stitch. I like the stem stitch. It's a common stitch. You've probably heard of it before.
Definitely.
Sometimes it's hard to follow if you don't actually have a line to follow.
Oh.
So if you're just trying to do a stem stitch,
out in the
I
open?
would definitely put a line,
Oh.
Yeah, if you're doing like a stem on a flower or something, you want to put a line there so
versus
that you
winging
have
it.
something to follow. Yeah, mine look a little wonky when I don't follow something.
Gosh, this is the variegated you're going to use.
Yes, I'm going to use this size 5 pearl cotton, so it's a little bit heavier than that 8. That 8 is pretty fine, so we chose the 5, and it is variegated. And this stitch is found in this Sue Spargo Creative Stitching book. This is the 2nd edition. And it is found on page 82.
And if you've seen our videos before, you know this is an incredible resource.
It is. I
mean,
love that book.
Every single page is full color. Tammy's going to show you the stitch. If you want further detail, be able to look at that in a book. I like a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such an incredible reference. Just pick that up. So be able to stitch anything with that.
Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to bring my needle, and the one thing I want to mention is I am using a Milner size 1.
Okay.
This is a heavier thread. You're going to want a bigger needle with this. Just buy the big needles. Don't try and do this with your small chenille needles. This thread is not going to play nice with you if you don't, and you're not going to be happy. So definitely, especially with the dazzle thread and that bigger eleganza, you're going to want a Milner's needle. And they're big needles, big eyes, so they're easy to thread.
And I know that even when I have a big needle, that thread, because it has all these colors and everything's wound together, it sometimes splays apart.
Frayed.
I
Yeah,
love
it
this
does.
needle threader.
This needle threader is beautiful. We use this all the time, the Clover embroidery needle threader. It'll go right into the eye of your needle, and you
let's
have
show
a
it.
large space.
Let's show that one. Let's actually
All right.
unthread that. This is one of the, I struggle, you know, I'm not wearing glasses.
You don't have your glasses on.
I'm in that phase.
That's right. It goes right in, and you guys can see how big the opening is now to put my thread through. I mean, you can do this. You can do this half blind, Jen.
Oh no. Guys, this was not planned, but here we are. I don't have my glasses on. And let's see if I can get it through the main part.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Did I
You're
do
in.
it?
Oh yeah, you're in.
Get that in there?
You're in, and now pull it through. Just
My
like that.
gosh.
It's so quick and easy.
I don't even need to find my glasses.
No.
That's fantastic.
You're good to
So
go.
I love that part.
All right.
It's meant for these beefier needles.
It is meant for the bigger needles. All right. So I'm going to bring my needle to the front of my work, right in this little valley, right where the brown and the gold meet. So I'm going to use the edge of this petal as my guide. All right. I bring my thread to the front. Now, a stem stitch, you want it to roll towards the petal, so I'm going to keep my thread under at all times. I'm going to keep my thread down. I'm going to come over 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to back stitch that at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm coming over 1/4 and back 1/8.
Okay, halfway back.
Yep, halfway back, and my thread is looping to the bottom. Pull your thread back, and now I'm going to come over a little bit, and I'm going to go
and you
right
go back your half,
Yep.
right?
And
Or your
you
half of
come
that,
back.
which is 1/8.
Half it's an
Yeah.
1/8. Yeah, not a half.
A lot of math going on
A
here.
lot of math. It gets confusing. And so I'm going to come right back to where that other stitch, the end of my other stitch.
Oh,
so
there
that the
you go.
stitches meet. Okay, so I want them to meet. And you're just going to stitch right along. And always keep your thread to the bottom. You don't want to loop your thread to the top. You want it on the bottom so that you're, see how I'm just moving that thread like
Right.
that? And it just rolls that stitch. See how quick this is?
And I love that variegation.
This really
This
works
is one of my
well.
favorite things about these variegated threads. It's also a variable
It's
variegation.
what? There it
Meaning
goes.
it's not on this predictable interval where you're
That's
saying
right.
every 5 or 7 inches there's a transition.
right.
It changes.
This changes up.
I
That's
love
right.
that part.
That's right. Yeah, you can look at where we've stitched.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of yellow, a little gold, and yellow. And then you have gold, yellow, and a lot of gold.
I
So
like
it's-
that.
Yeah, I like that too. All right, so this is a stem stitch, and this is quick and easy. I always keep my needle working on the top of my work. I don't do the stab and stitch method where you stab it down and then try to find your way back up.
I've noticed that you rock it, and you rock it back.
Always rock my needle back, always. It's so much faster to stitch, and I can keep my thread right where I can keep an eye on it.
The other thing too that I've noticed about these needles is when I've used weaker needles and I do that rocking, I've actually bent needles.
Oh yeah.
I
that
don't
would
think
be
you
good.
could bend this needle.
I don't think you could either. That's
They're
a pretty
strong.
stout
They're
needle.
strong.
It's a stout needle.
Okay, so
All
that's
right.
our stem stitch.
That's our stem.
Okay.
Wow. We got creative with the center here.
Okay.
This stitch, we wanted to do something fun in the middle, not just a little chain stitch, a detached chain stitch. This is an oyster stitch.
Okay, I've not seen this before.
I had not seen this either. We pulled this out of the book. We're like, let's try this. And
Okay.
Casey and I were playing with thread. Okay, so an oyster stitch is going to be on page 182. All right, so I'm going to come up, and I just did this randomly on here. I didn't draw a circle or
Yeah,
a
just
pattern.
do it.
Just do it randomly. All right, so
I
you're going
love
to come
that
to the
part.
top. All right, we're going to move our working thread a little bit here. I'm going to come over 1/8 and go in, and I'm going to come out 1/4 of an inch ahead. So I'm 1/8 of an inch over, and I'm 1/4 of an inch ahead. Now I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to wrap it counterclockwise, and I know you have to think about that for a second. It's to the left, and pull it through. Look at that, it makes this little twisty loop right here, okay? Now I'm going to hang onto this with my thumb. Let me put the thread on top. I'm going to take the back of my needle and I'm going to put it through the left leg of my loop.
Cool.
And pull it through. What this has done is it has now brought my thread back to the bottom. I'm going to put my thread in at the bottom again and out at the very top. And I'm going to go around it counterclockwise again. And this time it looks like a little chain stitch that just loops right on top, right around that
Wow.
rosette. Isn't that cool? And now you take a little stitch at the end to finish that off. And knot it up a little bit.
Wow.
Let me get that knot out of there.
You know, I should have grabbed that thread
Isn't that
conditioner.
cool? We got it right
Yeah,
here.
and that's what can
we
happen
should use,
sometimes is the
It
thread just
does
kind of
knot.
knots itself. I
It
don't know how
does.
it does it. I just
don't
know it does it.
It does do it.
And that's
I
where these
know it.
thread conditioners really help
This
keep
is
that
thread
down.
magic that we're
Okay,
using.
thread magic. Yeah.
I also only work with about 18 inches of thread.
Okay.
If you work with a lot more,
You're gonna get that
asking
more.
for trouble.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, it's
gonna
true.
get a mess.
It's
You're
true.
just gonna have a mess. Okay, so let's do one more because that was kind of fun. Let's do it again. Do it again. That's what I always tell my girls. That looks beautiful. Do it again. Okay, so my working thread is here. I'm gonna go 1/8 over and ahead by 1/4. Don't pull your needle through. Wrap it counterclockwise. Now pull your needle through. Okay, it makes a little loop, a twisted loop.
Now you turn it like almost
Turned
180
it over.
degrees.
I turned it over 180 so that I
Okay.
can hang on to this top thread with my
Okay.
thumb. The back of my needle goes through my left leg of my stitch, and I'm holding on to that. I don't want to let that go or it's all going to come apart.
180 again?
Yep, back around to right side up.
Oh.
And now I'm going to go at the bottom to the top. I'm going to loop it, and this just puts this chain stitch right around that. Look at that. It
That's
just goes right
cool.
around there. And then to anchor the stitch, you just take your needle to the back.
Isn't
Just like
that
that.
neat?
Isn't that fun?
Look at that. I mean,
I
that's
know.
like
I
the
love that.
sunflower. It's got those
Yeah,
awesome.
it's got like seeds. Isn't that fun?
Well,
I love
this
that.
is a really fun project.
It is.
It's beautiful
should
for your
come.
house. It's fun for a gift, and it's fun to just learn the new
is
stitches. And
fun
once
to
you
learn
start
new
doing them,
stitches.
you get the
You do
habit
a
of
lot.
it. Yeah,
Exactly.
So,
We
thank
just
you.
did French knots on your ladybug.
Oh, that's right.
And a back
Okay.
stitch.
Yep.
And I did use a friction pen just to draw my little line on him, just as a reference.
And then you drew.
I just did a back stitch
Back
on
stitch,
him.
some French
and some
knots.
French knots with my black thread that I used to go around this.
Wow.
And then you just seal the back
Yep.
of it with your,
Yep. Just bring that
With
together
this.
once that's done.
yep,
Use your woolly pressing mat, and then
Yep.
use your iron, and we're done.
yep, and we're done.
Aw, thank
Okay.
you,
Isn't
Tammy.
that
We'll see
great?
you then for
All right.
September.
Perfect.
Okay, see you next time.
Thank you.